All right, here we go. Just a guy on the couch rambling on about college football. I admit I have been neglecting this channel, haven't put in the time to post anything in a long time, which is a shame because my love for college football is still there. I'm still watching games nonstop on Saturdays and following everything. Just haven't put in the time to post videos or podcasts, rambling on, whatever you want to say. But it's Michigan State week. Or is it? And I say that because there's just not a lot of buzz in the state for this game coming up. And it's somewhat understandable. And Michigan State comes in pretty wounded, although they've given great effort. They had that Rutgers game they should have won. They had the Iowa game that was close. I mean, so they've been right there. I think that for the most part, the defense has been a pretty bright spot for them. Maybe not the secondary, but at times they've at times, people can point to the Washington game, but the Washington is a title contender. But still, even without the buzz, it's still rivalry week here in the state of Michigan. And that's one thing that makes college football so special. Whether it's, you've got the Iron Bowl, which is always huge. I consider the Iron Bowl the biggest rivalry game in college football, even above Michigan, Ohio State. I really do. And the beautiful thing about the rivalry games is, it divides friends and families and coworkers and neighbors, and it's kind of interesting for me now because when I moved to Michigan, and I was 8 years old, I became a Michigan fan, and now I live just a couple miles from Spartan Stadium. So everywhere I go, it's all green and white, which is it's fine with me. It's just interesting. It's kind of funny. And yeah, like I said, that's what makes college football special is the rivalries. And from a Michigan State perspective, going into this game on Saturday, it's understandable that they're, for the most part, they're probably like, well, I'm talking about the fans. The fans are probably thinking, well, got nothing to lose. It's probably not going to go well. They've got a basketball team and a basketball program that once again has expectations to go really far. Final Four. I'm not going to say national title only because they haven't won a national title since the year 2000. I'm not knocking the basketball program. It's very, very good. I know their expectation is to try to get another title. When you've got programs like Kansas getting away with cheating, it's kind of hard. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic. But if you're a Michigan State fan, I'm sure there's the outlier fans, the small percentage that thinks that still feels like weird things have happened in this rivalry. Upsets have happened, and so I'm sure that there's still that small percentage that has hope, for a win, and it's understandable. Last year, heading into this game, Michigan was the better team, the favored team, similar to when you go back to 16, 18, 19. 20 is a weird year. I'm not going to really, even though everybody was thinking Michigan was going to win heading into that game, but it was just 20 was a weird year. And although they were heavily favored, Michigan State put in the effort into that game in front of a empty home stadium in Ann Arbor because of all the restrictions and rules in 2020. Not to get on a tangent about 2020, but that was after that game was the point where I lost, as a Michigan fan, I lost hope in Jim Harbaugh because that team came out with no energy. And again, we saw a Michigan State team, which we've seen so many times during the Mark D'Antonio era, and this was the first year of Mel Tucker, come out with energy, that fire. They take on that underdog role so well. The chip on their shoulder. Because Michigan is the big dog, the big name program. And that's no disrespect to Michigan State. I'm just saying across the country, Michigan's just the bigger name program. But Michigan State has worn that chip on their shoulder very, very well. And that all started, for the most part, with D'Antonio. And so that's one thing that, as good and talented as Michigan is this year, for the most part, probably head and shoulders above, it's the one thing that Spartan fans can hold on to with a little bit of glimmer of hope, that sometimes the Spartans just put it in a different gear. But I do think that this is a different Michigan team and different Michigan program right now. Just like last year. And I don't think they're going to lose focus like some teams in the past that come in as, quote, the better team, and then almost, and I don't want to speak for players or coaches when I don't know them and I'm not in their shoes, but you could almost say borderline arrogant in a way, almost like, hey, we've got the winged helmet and we're Michigan and we're just gonna put on the maize and blue and be able to win. I know I shouldn't say that because I don't know those guys. I'm not in their shoes and I'm not coaches. I'm just saying, just from a fan's perspective, it almost felt like sometimes that was the way it was. And even when you go back to at times when Michigan was not the better team, go back to the ridiculous putting the little stake in the field at Spartan Stadium when Michigan was not the better team. I don't know what they were thinking. Funny thing is about that, when I see Devin Gardner on YouTube, he'll bring that up sometimes. And Devin Gardner will say, I don't know why they did that, because they basically got him killed. That was the game. I mean, Devin Gardner got absolutely destroyed back there with no offensive line. Michigan State, that was what, the Spartan Dogs. And why Michigan did that when they weren't the better team, it was just cheesy. It was just an embarrassment. And you go back, 21 was the game where both teams came in the top 10. And that's fun. That's exciting. And it's good to have a spotlight on your state and your programs. And the North, the Midwest, doesn't always get that. How many times have you seen where the Iron Bowl is, is Auburn and Alabama and they're ranked high? Or you get the Red River Shootout with Oklahoma and Texas and they're ranked high. You get some of the other rivalries down south: Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Some of those where both teams are ranked really high. And 21, the spotlight was on Michigan State. There was the game day was there. Fox Big Noon Kickoff was there. There was a Barstool had a pregame show there. How Michigan blew that game in 21, I still don't understand. I was there, and the funny thing is, Michigan was dominating that game, and there was the controversial play where Agent Hutchinson caused a fumble. Could have easily been ruled a touchdown, but it wasn't. Michigan was, I don't know if they just didn't keep their foot on the pedal. Late in that game, all they needed was one first down to seal that game. They couldn't tackle Kenneth Walker. Michigan's throwing the ball. There's just a lot of things. It's those games where Michigan State, I'm not going to call that game an upset because both teams were ranked really high. Although it kind of turned out, no disrespect to the entire Spartan team, but even Michigan State fans will admit that Kenneth Walker carried that team on his back so hard. I mean, we saw what happened when he got hurt later in the season. He got Mel Tucker all that money. That's interesting to see what's going to happen with that, with Mel Tucker and his money. That's a whole nother show that I'm not going to get into because it's his personal business. Only a couple people know the truth. I'm not getting into other people's personal business. I think he's given a raw deal, but I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, Kenneth Walker he got Mel Tucker that huge contract because we all know beating Michigan is the biggest, that's huge for Michigan State fans for that program. So I couldn't believe how that game went. I was like, I'm sitting there in the stands like, am I really seeing this? There were Michigan State fans leaving in that game. And I will tell you that because where my seat was in section 5, to my right, I could look down at where the entrance was. There's a concourse, and I saw people leaving. There were some older gentlemen in front of me, and they were discussing, hey, you want to go? You want to go? I don't know. We'll just stay. And all of a sudden, Michigan State came back. But this rivalry is a lot of fun. It really is. And sure, as a fan, you're into it, you're intense. I've always thought that Michigan State, when it comes to this rivalry, there's just something about the fans. They're just bitter, and I don't know what it is. Bitter is the word to describe the Michigan State fans in this rivalry when they look at Michigan. And then you'll get the whole Michigan State, the part of the fan base that, they're going to bring up the whole thing about who went to school and didn't go to school, and which has absolutely nothing to do with what happens on the field. And that's another whole topic that I'm not even going to get into either. But still fun. Some people take it too seriously. But if you think that this rivalry is serious, just think about some of the ones down south. And think about if you're in Ohio. The crazy thing is, you think about the Michigan State rivalry that divides households and friends and families and coworkers. If you're in Ohio, you don't have that. You don't have that experience because I mean, everybody's an Ohio State fan. Sure, there's a few rebellious Michigan fans here and there that you hear about on social media and stuff that are Michigan fans in Ohio, but that's it. You know, Cincinnati doesn't really count, unfortunately. And I like the Bearcats. I had some crazy pipe dream when I was young and in college. I don't know why I wanted to transfer and I wanted to go to Cincinnati. I have no idea why. So I like Cincinnati, but they're like a fly on a horse, and the horse is Ohio State. And Ohio State fans take the Michigan rivalry way more serious than Michigan fans take it. They're just crazy about it. They are an SEC like fan base down in Columbus, down in Ohio. Last year after the whole the tunnel incident, and I'll clean it up. I don't know. Maybe I won't. I'm not really going to go on. I'm not really not going to go into it too hard because it just gets me fired up. But it was an ugly scene. And after that game, there was a lot of media on both sides, Michigan and Michigan State. The guys on the radio and the YouTubers and the writers. There's not a lot of writers left, and I didn't really understand this. They're saying, I just don't enjoy this week. It's just a bitter, nasty rivalry. There's a lot of disrespect. I don't enjoy it. I don't look forward to it. It's just not fun anymore. I don't get that. If it's not fun, I think you should change your perspective or something, because it should be fun. It's just entertainment. We're there to watch college age dudes, incredible athletes play ball. It's fun. If you're not enjoying it, then I don't know, maybe you need to step away and find another hobby or something, because you've got to enjoy it. And I understand I guess I just don't grasp why people are saying that they don't enjoy it or that it's just so nasty. There's people that the media people that will say, well, the Michigan Ohio State game just has more respect. Well, come on, man. We've seen on the field fights between Michigan and Ohio State. I don't remember what year it was, but the year that maybe it was like 13 or something. I don't know. But if you guys remember the Ohio State guy getting ejected and throwing up the double birds as he walked into the tunnel, that was after a fight. And I'm not advocating, I don't like seeing fights and that sort of thing. I would like to keep things, I'd like to watch it from a fan's perspective. I want to see good sportsmanship and stuff. Fired up is great. But in that game, and I don't mean to get off the Michigan State topic, but just real quick, that game I remember texting with a friend of mine from Ohio that's an Ohio State fan. And I said, part of the reason why that happened is because Michigan is just fed up with getting beat every year by Ohio State. So I was like, they wanted to stand up for themselves, I guess. I'm not advocating fighting. I'm just saying that was probably the reason for it. So I'm not going to sit here and get into, the X's and O's and predicting all this stuff. I mean, that's just that's just I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of doing that, especially when I'm not one of these ESPN or Fox guys getting paid. I'm just a regular old fan. But I do want to talk about this year's game as I kind of wrap up this discussion, this rambling on. Um, Michigan State's coming in. They changed quarterbacks for last week, trying to cut down on turnovers. That was the one thing that plagued them with Noah Kim. Noah Kim he's a good athlete, but yeah, there was a lot of interceptions and turnovers. Hauser came in. I've watched a lot of Michigan State this year. It seemed like at first he did bring, I guess, stability in a way, but he did get a little bit sloppy later on. It didn't take long, but he did get sloppy after the beginning with it. And I don't remember if last week, I think I remember at least one interception thrown. But anyways, so Michigan State comes in. They've got a I'm going to say new quarterback because it's only his second game starting. So I'm saying we as a fan going in this game, you still don't quite know maybe what you're going to get from him. He could come out and play the game of his life. And there's not a lot of film to watch. Now, if you're Jesse Minter, with that Michigan defense and that talent, I don't know if you necessarily need film. I'm not trying to sound arrogant from their perspective, but that is one mean defense. Really, really good defense. And you see them where it's in the first quarter or something, and a team has a little bit of success. We've seen it almost every game where towards the beginning a team does put together a drive or have a big play against Michigan, and they adjust and they shut it down, and you can tell that they're pissed off giving up that play. And Michigan State's got some talent. You think about they've got that Rucker in the secondary. He's really, really good. He's still young, I think, though. You got Trey Mosley at wide receiver. So they've got some players. I think they're going to try to play stiff on the defensive line. Maybe try to get some pressure. Try to shut the run game down. As far as Michigan goes, I mean, staying healthy it's going to be huge in this game because it's going to be physical, and Michigan's got lofty goals. You've got to take care of business against this rival in their stadium, which I think everybody's curious as to what the fan breakdown will be, as far as the Michigan State students, I believe, are on break this week. So you'll lose a little bit of the student section probably. Although a lot of them are in state, so they may still stick around or come back for the game. I mean, it's Michigan week, no matter what. I don't think it's going to be quite as lopsided. There's a lot of people that think it's just going to be dominated by Michigan fans. I don't know if it's going to be that bad. But definitely Michigan always has a strong showing. And this year it's going to be easier to get tickets than any year in a long time because a lot of people are just bailing on it, selling out tickets, make that money. Speaking of Michigan State, with last year they had Peyton Thorne and they had Keon Coleman, very very talented wide receiver who is tearing it up at Florida State. And Peyton Thorne down at Auburn, though, it's funny because I listen to Auburn podcasts on YouTube, and they are not happy with Peyton Thorne. I always stuck up for Peyton Thorne. I said, if they protect him, I think he's a decent quarterback. I thought he was above average, but things aren't really going well for him at Auburn. And I think things are going really well for Keon Coleman after transferring to Florida State. Not only is it a team that is in the top 10, top 5 in the country, but I think he's made himself a lot of money getting that exposure down there. And he's super good. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up now. Like I said, just rivalries are fun. And although there are times where things get chippy on the field, things got ridiculous, like street brawl in the tunnel. It wasn't even brawl, because a brawl should mean two sides, and it wasn't a fair fight. But rivalries get fun, and people should just have fun with it. Just entertainment. We're not out there playing. Some of us are just old guys watching on TV. So rivalries is what you love about college football. So enjoy your Saturday. For both fan bases, go green, go white, and go blue. Until next time.